seeing greens? Oh, let me try that again. Why wasn't Twitter connecting? Hang tight, y'all. Was that you, Scott? All right, hold on. What's up, guys? Don't worry. We're going to get this party started. We just got to let it breathe, connect to all of our. And it looks like we're good, but Twitter doesn't want to connect. I don't know what's up with that. I'm actually not hating that Twitter's not connecting because it really bothers me how StreamYard tracks those real-time stats anyway, All right. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me is my fellow football priest. You know him. You love him. Zack Kelberman. Zack, a commenter said, you guys got to come up with a new intro. It's getting stale. It's like, yo, dude, our intro actually doesn't have that much forethought. It's really us just like, pragmatically, okay, let it breathe. We got to connect the remaining destinations. And you know what, Zack, I can recall when I stopped kind of doing the let it breathe for a couple of days, people freaked out, dude. They're like, where's the let it breathe? It's like some kind of a comforting tick. So eat your hearts out. What's up, bro?
Yeah, we can't win for losing, can we? There's other channels, though, that have these long, drawn-out countdowns with music in the background and everything. I think that's a little over the top. We're going to continue to let it breathe. If you don't like it, kick rocks.
I know. I was asked not too long ago, hey, why don't you guys have like a music intro on your live streams? People who listen on demand, they there's an intro and all that stuff, but like, why don't you do it on your live streams? And I don't know. There's just something about that, Zack, that I just don't. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't know. Maybe it's more professional. Maybe we should. But at the end of the day, we got the Duchess here,
Thank you,
helping to
Michaela,
keep us warm.
already.
We missed her yesterday in the gut reaction, but I knew sure as the sun shall rise that we would see her tonight. And here she is, top rope, Michaela Parker, legendary mythical figure. Love you. She says, as well as Bo Nix played. Still a few things to clean up. He looked fantastic, though. I'm still going to tap on my brakes since it was just one preseason game, but I find myself extremely optimistic. This is good. I was happy that Payton implemented RPOs. Yes, that was nice to see. And, the coolest thing about it is, again, Zack, he's going to grow on the job, right? If you actually go back and study some of the tape, I watched a few kind of film quarterback guys last night and today just to kind of see some of the more slowed down stuff and some analysis on it, right? Especially early in his playing time yesterday, Bo Nix was a little sketchy, but he kind of settled in and ran Sean Payton's offense. That's what I liked. Like, as long as you get a quarterback, Zack, that has some dynamic upside, who can be a faithful extension of Sean Payton on the field, bro, sky's the limit.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Michaela, as always. Second of all, he wasn't a 10 out of 10 yesterday, but what quarterback really is? I would say he was about a 9.5, and we'll all take that considering it was his debut. And even he said, Chad, it was a good day. But Michaela, the thing that makes me happy, that made Chad happy, not to pat ourselves on the back, but when you were down on the Broncos, down in the dumps and very pessimistic, we said just be patient and let Sean Payton go to work. Let Sean Payton find his quarterback, and I think he'll come around. To see you say you find yourself extremely optimistic now, it makes both of us really, really happy.
No doubt about it. And it was cool seeing those RPOs. Again, a quarterback that can do pretty much anything you need him to do in the league, in the hands of a next level play caller and schemer like Sean Payton, Zack. I mean, oh baby, it's going to be fun to watch these two get out there and do stuff. Sam Bam, what's going on, big dog?
Thank you,
Appreciate
Sam.
you, my brother, jumping in early before we go live. Saying evening, everybody. Great preseason win for the Broncos yesterday. I won't say Nix deserves to be in the Hall of Fame yet, nor should they build a statue of him just yet, but Nix looked like he will be our franchise QB. Go Broncos. I thought he looked as advertised. That's been the theme, Zack, since they drafted him. OTAs, what was the feedback? Hey, it looks as advertised. Training camp, same thing. So this is good. We're seeing how those 61 starts after all, Zack, is coming out on the wash for Bo Nix and the Broncos, just like Sean Payton expected.
Exactly. And I actually wrote about Bo Nix's self-evaluation of his debut against the Colts. And the last little paragraph I had there was a Sean Payton quote. And he was asked about Bo Nix's performance, and he was not surprised. He goes, I mean, it was great to see in a game setting. We've seen it in practice, so it wasn't alarming or surprising. He's been as advertised. He's been handling the offense, staying on schedule, staying on track, and he showed a dual threat ability, Chad, that we haven't seen in quite a while in Denver.
By the way, if you are a religious Twitter viewer of the show when we're live, I don't know why, but it's not connecting. There might be some bug going on with Twitter right now. I had somebody tell me earlier, Zach, a little somebody say that there's a big something about Elon Musk going on right about now. It could be
It never works.
It's getting crashed. I don't know, but bummer for the Twitter peeps. Hopefully they'll come to YouTube or Facebook or Twitch and off to the races, or Instagram. Yeah. Papa Bear, what's up, dude? The David McElrath in the house. Love you, big dog. He says, good evening, Broncos country, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. Hashtag 12-5. God bless the USA. Knicks QB1. Oh, that's a new one. MHH for life. Buckham ×3. Denver Broncos for life. Knicks for 6. See, I'm paying attention, David. I'm paying attention, big dog. Thank you for the super chat. Really, really appreciate you, brother. Zach Taylor jumps in here with the super saying, Bo is the franchise QB and will bring winning back. I think so, dude. I mean, again, one of the things that was most encouraging yesterday, I mean, again, it's preseason. We're not getting too far out over our skis. It's just more information that is kind of confirming what we've already learned about Bo Nix. But what really got me excited, Zach, was in not even 2 full quarters of play, put 20 points on the board.
Yep.
Went 4 for 5 possessions. 4 of them ended with points. That's exciting. And on third down, baby, the chains kept a moving. Now, again, it's preseason. It's a Colts defense that's not that good. Understood, but still, Zach, how long has it been since we saw the chains move on third downs? How long has it been since when they're in the red zone, they're punching it in at a, better than 40% rate? Like, it's been a minute.
And credit where it's due, no matter who was under center, whether it was Bo Nix or maybe with the exception of Jarrett Stidham, the Broncos offense was largely dominating, Chad, against a pretty good Colts defense. Bo went 15 of 21, 125, a touchdown, 102.3 passer rating, had 17 rushing yards on 3 attempts. But also the Broncos as a whole, you talked about the red zone percentage. They were 4 for 6. They had 32 first downs, 410 total yards. They controlled the clock for more than 38 minutes, and they only punted 2 times. Regardless if it's preseason or not, we can only judge it based on that one game, and that one game was very, very impressive.
Yeah, the punter competition didn't exactly get to move the needle much in game 1. Taylor, appreciate you, big dog. The Ronk checking in. What's up, brother? So good to see you. Always appreciate you throwing down some support and contributing to the conversation night in and night out. So good to see you, brother. George Fox jumping in too on Facebook saying, well, the more I've seen of Bo, I'm of the opinion it's time to give him the first team reps. Broncos for life, MHH for life. I agree. Now you're actually starting to see, Zach, the wages of keeping this an open competition. Like, now that you actually see, because Broncos country worldwide, not everyone could go to training camp, right? And there's only so much you can glean from reading the blogs and watching a few Twitter clips here and there, but everybody got to see it yesterday. And so the wages of continuing the open competition, Zach, now people are going, oh, wait a minute, he is the truth. We're kind of cutting off our nose to spite our face if we're going to maintain this facade. Everybody knows it's going to be Bo Nix, including Sean Payton. So, but here we are. I guess you're in for if you're Sean Payton, Zach, you're in for a dime, you're in for a dollar. I would have just come out and named him today. I would say, Bo Nix is our starter. Let's go. And nobody would have argued with you except Jarrett Stidham. That's it.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's in the interest of fairness and, calling it down the middle and showing a good face for the locker room. But to me, the only competition that still exists, Chad, is who's going to be Bo Nix's backup. Will that be Stidham or Zach Wilson? For everyone's money, Bo is going to be the week 1 starter. And you know what? It wasn't given to him. It wasn't nepotism. It wasn't anything else. It was the fact that he earned it in the spring, in the summer, and through one preseason game.
True. And now it connects to Twitter. So I just tried it again and hey, what's up, Twitter? Elias, that's a newer name. Welcome on Super Chat. Appreciate you, big dog. Thank you for the support. It does help us keep the lights on. So We're very, very grateful. Thank you. Contribute to the conversation if you got any specific topics or questions. We are, after all, your football priests, and night in, night out, Zach and I are here to offer you the absolution and answers to your burning Broncos questions, Elias. That includes you, my dog. So bring it. Phil, down in Tucson, what's up, brother? Love you. He says, good evening. Name me players you think stood out in the first game other than the QB. Buckham, MHH for life, Broncos for life. Yeah, dude. Okay, let's talk about it. So on offense, I would say I was pleasantly surprised by Marvin Mims. When I went back, Zach, and rewatched some of yesterday's game, Vele Devon, the rookie 7th rounder, he of the 6'5" fame, impressed me because even though he had that one miscue with Bo Nix in the red zone, which it kind of hurt, man, his presence was legit. And Bo Nix got picked up 2 huge pass interference calls by throwing his way, including one in that 2-minute drill. So he was a guy that jumped out to me. I think Wattenberg he's clearly the guy at center. I mean, you didn't see really much push at all from Forsythe when he came in at center. That's just a few names off the top of my head on offense. Zach, what do you got for Phil?
On defense, I can go with Alex Singleton. Jonah Ellis looked good screaming off the edge. Chris Abrams' drain looked good in pass coverage. Riley Moss looked decent. So the Broncos, Chad and Phil, got a lot of contribution from their first and second year players, and that's always what we want to see. So to me, those are the ones that jumped out, Chad, after a few tape reviews of the game.
Yeah, there's I'll tell you, Audric Estime wasn't impressed by his debut for whatever it's worth. I know you're asking who stood out, but he stood out in a negative way. Like, runs with great power, but he's got to learn that in the NFL, baby, downhill is king. You got to keep going north and south, so to speak. But I expect that I bet this game, Zach, in the film room is going to be very instructive to him. I bet you'll see a much more productive performance from the 5th round rookie out of Notre Dame this next game. The Duchess jumping in again. Love you, Michaela. She says, who do you think had the best rookie performance this weekend of all the quarterbacks? Go Priest, much love. I mean, honestly, it's a toss-up between Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy because, I mean, Caleb, Drake May, they played one series. Jaden, same thing. Jaden Daniels, one series. I got to tell you, I didn't watch any of Penix. I'm going to tell you the truth instead of lie to you. So I would say this is what Scott's saying. Penix looked really good. So there you go. But I would say those 3 kind of acquitted themselves. Nix, Penix, and McCarthy, maybe a slight edge to McCarthy because he did have 2 touchdowns. But then again, Zach, he also had a pick. So maybe the edge goes to Bo Nix. What do you think?
Yeah, from what I've seen, Caleb Williams made a few nice throws. Still jury's out on him as the number 1 overall pick. I got to agree with you. I haven't watched every snap of every other preseason game, but from what I did see, McCarthy was making a few off-platform athletic throws that he showed in his pre-draft process. So toss-up, bias, subjective. I'm going to go with Bo Nix, but McCarthy did look good out there in Minnesota, Chad.
Well, and I just think, too, in the same ways, Zach, that we were excited about Sean Payton getting Bo Nix, like, even if you weren't sure about the fit, the fact that the quarterback was handpicked by Sean Payton and then going to be coached by Sean Payton, that's a huge feather in the cap. Same goes for McCarthy in Minnesota. And just watching those play calls, I watched every quarterback except Penix this morning. I don't know why I forgot to watch Penix. I should have. I don't know. But McCarthy, the play calls looked good, right? They looked savvy. They looked like it was playing to the quarterback's strength. He showed the cashews to take the shots that were needed when the opportunity was there. I'd say toss up between those 2. You could say McCarthy because of the 2 touchdowns and the just shy of 200 yards passing, but he did have the pick. Or you could say Bo Nix, who 100 and a quarter passing, touchdown pass, 17 yards rushing, but he scored 4 times on 5 possessions, put 20 points on the board, Zach, and he didn't turn it over. And
didn't take a sack either. I mean,
right.
No Broncos quarterback did. So again, on offense, it was a truly, dominating effort. But JJ has a better supporting cast, I'd say, in Minnesota than Bo Nix does in Denver. But I'm not wishing ill on McCarthy at all. I hope he does succeed with Kevin O'Connell, just not when they play the Broncos.
Yeah, as Scott says, pretty much a positive debut for all of the first-round rookies this year. So good for them. Eric Flynn, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate the support night in and night out. Zach, the Broncos had a roster move today. You're breaking it down. Tell everybody about what's cooking.
Yeah, they claimed Caleb Hayes off waivers from the New York Giants. Hayes is a second-year former undrafted free agent. He spent a little time with Jacksonville as a rookie, and then the rest of the 23 season on the Giants practice squad. He played his collegiate ball at BYU. He started 20 games there, and he'll provide some depth in that secondary while I assume Levi Wallace and Brandon Jones mend their injuries. They also waived Alec Mock, the rookie inside linebacker, in a corresponding roster move.
To use your phrase, which is also a Mark Jensen phrase, the old man for what it's worth, can't win for losing. That's Mock so far this year. Like
Right.
just when he thinks he's got the ground back beneath him, boom, someone pulls the rug out. Broncos have signed him and cut him now twice. So bummer for the undrafted rookie.
It is. Hopefully, maybe he'll resurface later on the practice squad or get another chance. But yeah, he's out for the second time in I think as many weeks, Chad, if not 3 weeks.
Ben Wallman, what's up, buddy? Good to see you on Facebook. Thank you. He says, I think safety is still a big hole. What say you all? Yeah, it's a big concern. I thought what Carl Dummler wrote about it today in his article covering the big risers and fallers was apropos, and he brought it up relative to Alex Singleton, which is, neither Cody Barton nor Jonas Griffith looked like super good on both sides of the, in terms of against the run and in coverage. And that's going to be a concern, especially as Carl writes for Alex Singleton. Like, he has to be basically the second coming of Randy Gradishar in order to offset that and the question marks behind them at safety. But I think once you get Brandon Jones back, PJ Locke is a pretty calming presence. I mean, not to make it out like PJ Locke is some tenured vet, but what we saw from him last year, Zach, does give me confidence. And I think, this is just like when TJ Ward, when the Vance Joseph Broncos regime, John Elway, Vance Joseph decided on a dime out of the blue, shocked everybody and moved on from TJ Ward. All of a sudden, it's like, all right, young guys step up. And Justin Simmons ended up filling that vacuum. So someone will fill the vacuum. Who's it going to be? Time will tell.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned, Ben, about the safety issue. Brandon Jones will be a comparable replacement for Simmons. And then PJ Locke came on strong last year, and you have to hope he can keep building off that with VJ and Jim Leonard. But behind them, JL Skinner's had a pretty solid training camp. Devon Key has had a pretty solid training camp. You have DTY, who's still on the injured list, I believe, and he's going to be back in action soon. So, like you said, a lot of young guys that are waiting to see more opportunity. And don't forget, even though the Broncos did look good in the preseason opener, it's still an evaluation year for every single player on that roster, including and especially number 10.
Indeed. Ben, great to see you, bro. I hope you're doing well. Oh, that's right. Did Simmons visiting the Falcons for what it's worth?
Yep.
It sounds like Scott, who obviously has a beat on the Falcons, covers the Falcons. He likes that fit because they lost a safety to an ankle on Friday. So this might be the one for Justin Simmons, Zach.
They have Jesse Bates, too. That would be a hell of a tandem, Simmons and Bates, and playing for a defensive-minded head coach. Or in that defense, I think I just don't see the fit from Simmons' perspective. If he wanted to go to a contender, Chad, the Falcons, to me, don't scream contender, even with Kirko. I mean, Super Bowl legitimately. Sorry, Scott.
We'll see. We'll see if Kirk Cousins is the guy you think he is after watching quarterback, Zach.
Maybe.
No, for
Stay
real,
healthy.
though. I mean, there'll be something in the regular season probably because that's what Kirk Cousins does. It's like,
Right.
Or at least they'll be relevant. I bet they're relevant, dude, because it's not like the NFC South is some ferocious division. That's one of the benefits to, that's one of the upsides, I guess, to the Falcons outlook. But Ryan Jones jumping in. What's up, brother? Says, Bo knows. Excited about wide receiver and the running backs. Love your guys' show. Thank you, Ryan. Well, we love you, big dog.
Thank you, Ryan.
Appreciate you. Excited, Zach, about wide receiver and running backs. I mean, yesterday, the Broncos rushed for over 100 yards, and every back kind of showed something, with the exception maybe of Samaje P. Ryan. But what were your thoughts?
There's no such thing as having too many weapons. I know that the kitchen seems full of too many cooks right now, but that'll get sorted out and you're going to narrow it down to the best, 5 or 6 receivers, the best 3 or 4 running backs. And they have a lot of versatility and positional flexibility among them. Marvin Mims caught a touchdown. Vele's had a strong camp. We'll have to see what happens with Troy Franklin. Tim Patrick made a catch for the first time in 2 years. Sutton made a nice grab yesterday. So those pieces are going to come together. In the backfield, Javante's probably locked in. Samaje, to me, Chad, and to the commenter, is a cut candidate, if not a certainty. And then you have the younger guys, and Estime as the power guy. Blake Watson came on a little strong yesterday as a speed guy. McLaughlin. So once this shakes out, I want to see the split in the usage in all of them.
Indeed. I mean, the cool thing about the flow of yesterday's game is you had 1, 2, well, I guess 3 backs, McLaughlin. So Estime, McLaughlin, Watson get 5 or more attempts. So, and Estime led all of the backs with 10 carries, but he only averaged 3.1 yards. So, Kirsten Bailey Drummer, what's up? Hey, I checked out your channel today on YouTube, by the way. I've been telling you I was going to, and I checked it out. So rock on with your drumming and with your band. Really, really cool. She says, I wonder if there is a QB battle for number 2. So in other words, like, how much is Sean Payton, Zach, really considering keeping Zach Wilson around as, the next guy on the field if Bo Nix got hurt?
I mean, maybe a little more than he was 48 hours ago. Zach Wilson had a team high 103.7 rating and a team high 9.0 yards per completion on 13 attempts against the Colts. I mean, you can argue he was the most, stat-wise, the most impactful quarterback, besides not having a touchdown pass of the day. Stidham, I know he didn't get a fair shake as we talked about yesterday, but didn't have a touchdown pass. He had that pick. He played a limited amount of snaps. So I do think, Kirsten, the only battle that's raging right now is for number 2. But, and I'll change my tune a little bit, Zach Wilson may have made up a lot of ground in that competition, and he might be pushing Jarrett Stidham off the roster.
Yeah. Kirsten, appreciate you. I learned that Kirsten and her old man watch the show on the regular, so appreciate you guys' support. Phil, see, this is why I'm honest. I'll tell you if I don't know something. If I didn't catch him, I'll tell you. But his take is, I think, considering where he was drafted, I would take Penix as a standout for the first preseason game. Also, skirmishing against Green Bay will make Sunday's game a real tell on Nix and the team. Indeed, that's going to be interesting because they're going to have a couple of practices against the Packers, and Bo Nix will go up against those guys, and he's going to be running with the ones. Like, I would expect, even if he hadn't have done well in the first game, as he did, being that Zach, he's going to be he's a rookie and he's getting the start in this one. The reps with the first team kind of weighted in his favor. So it'll be interesting to see how if he can build on that impressive debut, and in this case, a true debut in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, that's the important thing. I mean, from a fan's point of view, is seeing Bo in Power Field for the first time. The joint practices should be beneficial, Phil, against the Packers. I just hope no fighting, no injuries, no unnecessary stuff. It's an evaluation tool. And you're right, Chad. It worked out well where he's going to start Bo Nix this game, and this should be. I mean, he should run away with the job. I mean, this should be a lead that he doesn't relinquish. We should be seeing Bo Nix under center from here on out. So we'll see if the momentum transfers, and another stout defense they'll be facing. But the confines of Mile High Stadium and coming off a momentum-filled game against the Colts should get him right.
Yeah, and then hopefully that's where the decision comes down from on high, because you could use, if you're Sean Payton, Zach, that third preseason game to maybe give your rookie starter some reps, but probably sit him in the interest of preservation and abundance of caution, and let that third game dictate who you're keeping as the actual backup. Because as we talked about last night, we've mentioned it a few times on the show since training camp began, for what it's worth, it kind of became a non-issue, but Zach Wilson has battled back. So now it's back in the 4. Broncos can save a good chunk of change by rolling with him as the QB2 and cutting Jarrett Stidham. Not to say that's what's going to happen, but a lot of decisions, Zach, end up getting, they're based on the finances in the NFL, especially when players are kind of sixes. They're kind of similar I mean, put it this way. Bo Nix goes down with an ankle. It's week 4. You know, he's out for this game. Probably a good chance he's back for week 5. Who do you actually believe has a better chance of coming in and saving the team from disaster, keeping you semi-competitive, maybe even, Zach, winning the game between Stidham and Wilson? Honestly.
It's always been my argument for keeping Stidham and jettisoning, Zach Wilson, but it comes down to what Sean Payton values. If he wants a higher floor guy as the number 2, that's Stidham. If he wants a higher ceiling guy, that would be Zach Wilson. You're right, though, that the next couple preseason games will determine the backup quarterback competition, and the third game should be the backup bowl. That decides it all, Chad.
Exactly. Phil, love you, big dog. Guys, I hate to be the bearer of bad news and break everybody's heart, because I know everyone within the sound of my voice was really pining for this cat to return. I mean, like really saying your prayers. But Ben DiNucci, aka Gucci DiNucci, he's off the table, guys. Like, Buffalo swooped him up today. In all seriousness, Zach, always cool to see a former Bronco land on his feet, especially kind of a fringe guy like DiNucci being given another chance. It's tough, it's a tough road to hoe in Buffalo for quarterbacks, because you got Allen, you got Trubisky, or whatever. But he landed in Buffalo, Ben DiNucci.
It's yet another Bronco that did, Chad. I don't know what their fascination is with Denver castoffs. I mean, Von Miller, Isaiah McKenzie, now Ben DiNucci, but he was no longer needed by the Broncos, and I do wish him well out there in Buffalo. I do think he can play a little bit, Chad. I don't think we've seen the best of Ben DiNucci in the NFL, as crazy as that sentence sounds.
Yeah, former 7th-round pick of the Cowboys, little XFL success, Okay, I'm going to show you guys this just so you can – Zach, I'm going to blow this up. Tell me when it's, like, optimal. Well, I don't know if I want it to get any bigger than that so that it can stay on screen. But this is the contract of one Jarrett Stidham, okay? He's now in year 2, so he's here in 2024. His base salary, $4.5 million. He had a prorated signing bonus from when the Broncos brought him in. Roster bonus per game, guaranteed salary of $1 million. So his total cap number is $7 million. Now, a cut has to now, since we're past June 1st, it can only be post June 1st. So if you were to cut him, you would save $5 million. All right, $5 million with $2 million dead. So whereas in the case of Zach Wilson, let's check him out real fast here. Zach Wilson, you cut him post June 1st, you're eating $2.7 million. So that favors him sticking around, Zach, because, especially if he continues to kind of at least look competent out there. No team, even especially a relatively cap-strapped team like the Broncos, wants to just like throw $2.7 million in the trash can. So I'm telling you, unfortunately, a lot of signs point to Wilson. Like, Jarrett Stidham should feel actually a little bit sketchy right now. And to go back to something, I don't think I got a chance to mention this yesterday, Zach, but it was an interesting stat that was brought up by Woody Page of the Denver Gazette, who, as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of his, has been for years. But he's covered 50 training camps, right, Zach, of the Broncos, and he had an interesting historical distinction, a dubious one at that, for Jarrett Stidham. If he does not win the starting job, he'll become, Zach, the 16th quarterback in Broncos history to start the first preseason game, but not week 1. Food for thought.
That's why we're all praying and hoping that the carousel ends soon and Bo Nix is our savior. But to your previous point, Chad, I don't think the Broncos want to commit any more dead money to any other quarterback if they don't have to, after wading through the Russell Wilson disaster. And maybe you've been pining for Zach as the number 2, and maybe it will turn out that way. But I do think it's not cemented yet, anything but. He could still lose the job. Jarrett Stidham can still win the job. This is yet to be decided. I think the only thing decided so far, even unofficially, is QB1, and that's Mr. Bo Nix, baby.
Yeah, as Scott mentions here in our private chat, 11 players have a cap hit on the Broncos roster higher than $5 million. So that means a $5 million savings in the case of moving on from Jarrett Stidham. That's not chump change. Like, that's serious coin. So for what it's worth. All right, we've got The Duchess jumping in again. Love you, Michaela. Her third super chat tonight. She says, trade Stidham for a conditional 5th round pick, maybe? Like, what do you think? Do you think there's someone out there? Well, this is one of the benefits, Zach, in my opinion, why you just need to name Bo Nix your starter, give him his first team reps, and then when phase 1's over, keep Stidham on the field as much as you can so that teams can see what he's got, and then maybe you can dangle him and get something in exchange. Otherwise, you're really just focused on the $5 million cap savings. But that's only if, Zach, the margin between he and Wilson is actually thin. I mean, that's a big caveat here.
Or let one of them go, Wilson or Stidham, and they can find a new team early, kind of do them a favor. Michaela, I don't know that anyone would offer even a conditional 5th for Jarrett Stidham, knowing that he's a career backup and he's more than likely going to be cut by Denver. So they're going to just wait on that to happen if they want him, or they'll pick up some, jag off the free agent wire. I think some undrafted rookie, Chad, or 7th round rookie would have more upside overall in the NFL than a Jarrett Stidham. You can see what you have there. You know what you have instead of.
Exactly. I mean, I've never been super stoked on Jarrett Stidham. He's a nice Band-Aid to have around if and when, you step on a nail or something. Everyone, you got to get that tetanus shot. It sucks, but he's kind of like that, handy to have in a pinch. But if you have to turn to him, man, you're hating life. Like, you're glad you have that tetanus shot, but like you're hating it when you actually have to turn to that tetanus shot. Like, you're tetanus shot, you're in. That's Jarrett Stidham. Duchess, love you. Appreciate you. Okay. Phil wants to know, guys, can't we keep 3 Qs and 1 not count on the 53? Yeah, what is that? It's a newer rule, Zach. Let me do a quick bit of research on this. Hold tight.
Yeah, that emergency third quarterback rule. I want Chad to clarify that though, so I don't speak out of school.
Yeah, hold on, almost there. Stand by. Let's see what the robots say. Third quarterback can be placed on an inactive roster spot where he would not use a spot as one of the. Hold on. All right. The NFL implemented a revised third quarterback rule in 2023 in response to the Niners sustaining injuries to both their active quarterbacks in the NFC Championship game. The third quarterback can be placed on an inactive roster spot where he would not use a spot as one of the 48 active players on game day, but has to be on the 53-man active roster and not one of the 2 elevated practice squad players. He may enter the game if the quarterbacks on the active or roster are injured or disqualified. Unlike with the rule put in place in 91, if a quarterback from the active roster is medically cleared, blah, blah, blah. So yes and no. Clear as mud. Hopefully that made sense, Zach.
I just, what is the utility in keeping both Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham? I understand one as the backup, but you're putting all your eggs in the Bo Nix basket. That's your number one priority. If your backup quarterback ever has to come in, regardless of who it is, Chad, that means your season's going down the tubes, as we found out in recent years. So I wouldn't trip too hard, Phil, about keeping all 3. Whoever plays better in the preseason, either Zach or Jarrett, should get the number 2 job.
I'm seeing I got to go do some research on this, Zach, because I'm seeing competing information. Wikipedia, NFL Wikipedia is usually pretty reliable. I know it kind of sounds like a joke. Certain things with Wikipedia, not reliable. In fact, a lot of stuff. But like leagues and stuff, and they do a good job of cultivating, making sure their posts are legit. This is from, let's see, in light of I feel the need to explain NFL's recent rule change in regards to the elusive QB3. The rule change is generally summarized by, quote, NFL teams can have an emergency third QB that doesn't count against their roster. While this is true in the broadest sense, most seem to interpret that we can get it's about the game day roster, not the 53. So no, the answer is no, Phil. I'm pretty confident in that. I'll double check it when I don't have a light and a microphone in front of my face and I can take some time. But I'm like 90% no. Now, what you can do is keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster and not dress the third one. And if your two other quarterbacks who are active on game day get hurt or disqualified, he can be dressed, that third guy, and he can play. That's what it means by the not counting type thing. So, all right.
That was kind of my point, though, Chad. Like, if you lose two quarterbacks and you're on your third quarterback, no matter who it is, your season's shot.
Exactly. We got Dennis Woods jumping in. What's up, brother? Great to see you. He says, I'd like to see Zach Wilson play against Green Bay's twos. We know what Stidham can do, so let's see if Wilson can do better so that we can compare apples to apples. I wouldn't hate it either. But something tells me, Zach, again, going back, I guess, in the interest of fairness, Sean Payton, his two younger quarterbacks, I mean, younger is a relative term, but we'll just say Nix and Wilson got plenty of snaps, plenty of drives, plenty of opportunities to ply their wares. He got 2 drives and then got yanked. So I think you're going to see a lot of Stidham. So Stidham gets an opportunity to kind of balance the scales, if you will. But I agree with you, though, Dennis, because we know what we're going to see. We're going to see a guy that does a good job at the line of scrimmage, in the huddle. Ball is going to come out on time, but it's always going to be like 8 yards and under. Very rarely. He just doesn't take the chance. He doesn't have that killer instinct. Like, it's just boring ball. But he's a guy that's going to really strive, Zach, not to lose you the game. But he's not the guy you're going to be hoping, ball on the 2-yard line with 1:45 left to go. You're not expecting that cat to go down and move mountains. You know what I mean? So what do you prioritize in a backup? The guy that's not going to lose you the game, Zach, if you got to turn to him. I mean, all things being equal.
You're right, though. Ain't nobody want to watch a quarterback check down in a preseason game. It's a very boring, stoic brand of football that I could do without personally. But I agree with you, Dennis. If I would have it my way, Chad, as well, we would give Zach the majority of the reps in game 2, but it doesn't seem like it's going to go that direction, because even Sean Payton said, Chad, after yesterday's game, that Stidham will play more in game 2. He only got 2 series, and even Stidham said he didn't want to go out like that after the pick. So he's going to still call this down the middle and still, in the interest of fairness, compete between Stidham and Wilson for the right to be Bo Nix's backup. But what they do against Green Bay will decide a lot of that, Chad.
Yeah, dude, if you're Jarrett Stidham yesterday, you're just like anxiety on level 10, because first of all, it's probably not going to go your way no matter what you do, because you're going against a first rounder. B, you've seen how he looks, and you're like, can't win for losing. There we go again, Zach. And then you get pulled after you throw a pick as the starting quarterback, and you're like, oh, man.
That wasn't even his fault.
It wasn't even my fault, and yet. So yeah, just the way it goes for the backup quarterbacks of the world, Zach. Like, that's kind of what life serves you, I guess. I don't know.
The breaks.
Them's the breaks. GLP in the house. Gary, what's up, big dog? Thank you for the super chat. He says, I just got in. I'll replay. Bo is a go. Go Broncos. That he is, my friend. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate the super chat, big dog. Enjoy the listen back later. Hey, look, Savage Boy Kev on Twitch. We always try to get at least one Twitcher. Says, hey, Sean Payton traded for Zach Wilson, so I don't think that he'd let him go. Well, especially too, Zach, when you consider that the Broncos would have to eat $2.7 million by letting him go. There would be 0 cap savings. It would be straight up eating some coins. So maybe the bet should be, Zach, on expecting them to carry 3 quarterbacks this year.
Maybe. And, I'll play contrarian, Kevin, and I'll ask you if Sean Payton knew in advance, because they traded for Zach right before the draft, if he knew that he'd be drafting Bo Nix at 12, if it was a guarantee, would you still make that trade for Zach Wilson? I don't know. It seemed like it was an insurance policy, but maybe you're right. Maybe there's more investment there, even though Sean Payton did hand sign Jarrett Stidham in year 1, but it's all about upside, I think, to Sean Payton. And there's no question, Chad, ceiling wise, that'd be Zach over Jarrett all day, every day.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. Real quick, in the interest of being comprehensive, Mr. Producer, hey man, check your date, because you're looking at the 2023 version of the 3rd quarterback rule. 2024, this is the last thing I'll say on it, but this is because I love you, Phil. Under last season's rules, a quarterback on the practice squad and elevated to the active roster for the game was not eligible to receive the emergency QB designation. Teams will now be permitted to, as part of the 2 standard elevations from the practice squad each week rule, elevate a quarterback to serve as the emergency quarterback. Unlike the standard elevation rules that allow players to be elevated 3 times before they must clear waivers, teams can elevate a quarterback. Yeah, so there is that, Scott, but do they not? So they'd have to be on the practice squad is the bottom line, not the, yeah. Okay. So, all right. I'm gonna move on here, Phil. Hopefully we got to the bottom of that for you, big dog. Mike says Broncos were the only AFC West team to win a preseason game. Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers lost. I don't think the Chiefs are losing any sleep over it. But they all want to win, right? Like when they get in there, you got to preach victory. You got to expect it. You got to strive for it. But coaches, when you don't win a preseason game, nobody's hitting the panic button. But it does feel good. It feels good, Zach. I'm not going to lie.
I think KC will be okay. I mean, the Raiders are the Raiders. Hopefully the Broncos can snap that streak. But the Chargers with this Herbert injury, that bears monitoring for sure. I want to see how they open the season.
Yeah. Okay. We're about 40 minutes in, Zach. We've talked a lot about the quarterback situation. Ryan Jones, what's up, buddy? We've talked a lot about the quarterbacks, but let's shift gears for a second here, and I want to talk about some of the other stuff we saw. Greg Dulcich, Zach, have you heard any update on him after that poorly placed ball by Bo Nix, his first throw of the game, if memory serves, knocks him out of the game? Any update on him?
No, I mean, I think no news is good news too.
Yeah.
I think it was out of an abundance of caution. The only update I heard was Lucas Kroll, who has a toe injury, and MRI did confirm today, and he should be day to day, according to Sean Payton.
I liked it. Is it serious? It's a toe. Is it serious though, Coach? It's a toe. That's like, well, okay, it's a toe. I mean, I don't know, plantar fascia. I remember that took out. I guess that's more that bottom foot. It's like weird stuff. But Peyton Manning, that's what cost him that time in 2015. Phil, Knicks gets number 1 QB next week, and the third game is Stidham and Wilson 5 for 2. That's what it should be. I hope that's the way it goes. And so far, one of the things, guys, that I love about Sean Payton, he sees the forest for the trees. Like, you don't get these incongruent lines of thinking. It's rational. It adds up. And that is highly, highly encouraging after the kind of weird stuff we've seen at times post Super Bowl 50 era Broncos. Zach, I keep getting asked a lot about Troy Franklin today. Oh, the rookies all look pretty good, except Franklin was like a non-factor, but he did have 1 target. We talk about, hey, we're excited about Bo Nix, but let's not get too far out over our skis yet. Let's see him. It's 1 preseason game. Does that logic also hold up in the case of Troy Franklin barely making a dent yesterday?
Yeah, I think there's some overreaction about Troy Franklin. Some Broncos fans I saw on Twitter were thinking that he might get cut or put on the practice squad, which there's no chance he'd get claimed by another team in a heartbeat. But there's only so many targets to go around. And Cortland Sutton's had a good camp. Josh Reynolds had a good camp. Tim Patrick's had a good camp. Devon Vele's had a good camp. There's only so many receivers that can stand out. And I mentioned that Franklin had a rough go at first. He was in the doghouse getting chewed out by John Morton, the receivers coach and passing game coordinator. And even Sean Payton talked about it. It's an acclimation process. And he's going to have to earn his stripes. He might be a non-factor for half the season or so until he gets his bearings. But once he does, again, he is going to be a game changer catching passes from Bo Nix and this Broncos offense.
Definitely. Zach, real quick here, a couple things also I want to touch on. Let me go to the team stats here from yesterday. These are like some of the most exciting aspects of let me get rid of that banner. Of yesterday, encouraging. It'll be really curious. Now, Broncos are on the left column, Colts are on the right here. Let me blow it up. Let me see how that looks. Yeah, that's about as good as it gets. So you see Broncos on the left, Colts on the right. But check this out, Zach. Third down, Broncos went 7 of 13 for 54%. that's a like if you could sustain that level of conversion through a season, that would be wildly successful. Red zone, Zach, they went 4 for 6, which is 67%. Also, as a harbinger or as a stat, if you could carry that forward into the season, you'd be doing really, really well. And on both fourth down conversions, they converted. Goal to go, 3 of 4, Zach. What were your thoughts here on these key third, fourth down red zone efficiency metrics?
I think that Sean Payton, and he even admitted it, put an emphasis on red zone work and goal to go, short yardage, all the fundamentals they were failing last season, which is why in part they replaced Russell Wilson with Bo Nix. And the offense, it starts with the quarterback, obviously, Chad, but that extends to the running game, that extends to all parts of the field, all types of play calls. When you have a quarterback that's running the offense as it should be run, when you have a quarterback not losing yardage, not turning the ball over, not putting the offense in bad situations, it allows you to nail down and perfect the fundamentals, is converting on third downs, converting in the red zone, converting on goal to go. That to me is the most encouraging part, is that the Broncos are getting the basics down, because when you get the basics down, then the rest falls in place.
Another key metric you're not going to necessarily see right here, but I guess I could come over here to home. But look at this. Let's count the number of players that caught a pass, Zach. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 dudes caught a pass yesterday, Zach, which I think, again, is indicative of Sean Payton coming in here last season. He's like, all right, I'm going to try and make lemonade with this Russell Wilson guy, but I'm at least going to bring one guy I could feel like has a chance to be an extension to me on the field, could do the things I need him to do if I have to turn to him. So in comes Stidham. Then this offseason completely reshapes the room with quarterbacks who fit those kind of tenets for him anyway. And this is how it comes out in the wash. You go back to the team side of things here, Zach, and look at this split. Broncos ran 79 plays to the Colts 51. Like they were just moving the ball. Like it was quarterbacks. Say what you will about Stidham, say what you will about Zach, and frankly, say what you will about Bo Nix, but all three of them seemed to be pretty good fits for the guy who was calling the plays yesterday.
Sean Payton knows a thing or two about calling an offense in the NFL, doesn't he, Chad? Eat your heart out. Eat your heart out, haters. Interestingly enough, and something that we talked about last night, was the leading receiver in terms of catches for the Broncos was Lucas Krull, who had, I think it was 4 for 34 or 5 for 34, something like that. But they were distributing the ball, but also they were finding the middle of the field. They were working the seams. They weren't locking on to the perimeter. They weren't just taking moonball, YOLO shots down the field. It was an actual, tangible, functional offense in the year 2024. And for Broncos country, it's a sight for sore eyes for sure.
Definitely. Just for posterity, 4 receptions on 4 targets, 31 yards for Krull. Had that unfortunate fumble, but a long of 16. Seemed to have a nice little mind meld going with Bo Nix for what it's worth. So.
Good.
But guys, we're about to get out of here. This is your last call for Super Chats. Got a few or questions, Keith? Anything burning on your mind right now, get it in the chat. We got a couple messages for you, then we'll check back before we dip.
Can't believe it's been almost 50 minutes. You guys make it incredibly fast and incredibly fun. It was another tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on Twitter at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle, Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can do so at mile_high_huddle. Be sure you're leaving a like at facebook.com/milehighhuddlepod. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that merch each and every single month. But if anything, ladies and gentlemen, please, please, please subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Hey, this is for the Instagram folk. Colin McMullen, we see you, big dog. And by the way, Justin Credible on Instagram Says, fan of the show from California. Can't wait for the season to start. Knicks for 6. Love it, dude. Thanks for being with us. But Cullen has this question real quick, Zach, and then we'll leave everybody with our answer here. He says, not sure if you're seeing this. We are. But is Riley Moss going to start? I think he means that more 10,000 foot, right? Like not this week. Is he going to be the CB2 opposite Surtain, you think?
I think a lot will be determined when Levi Wallace comes back from injury, because he was, among the better performers in training camp before he got hurt. So if he falls behind the 8 ball, Wallace does, and Moss continues to ascend, then I can definitely see him, starting opposite Surtain. I think the one guy that has no shot, Chad, is Damari Mathis, who looks like just a bust.
You just can't count on him, man. It's really weird because he is super talented. Sometimes he'll make a play. But yesterday, had a great opportunity for a massive play and just opportunity slipped through his fingers. Mike, love you, brother. He says, great show tonight, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Broncos. Hey, guys, we kind of have our rhythms. We have our intros. We're making light of it earlier. We have our little matters of business at the end. But, guys, this is the legit truth. The season's kicking back up. It's all hands on deck. It's great to see so many of you coming back to the MHH campfire. It's been a long off season. Here we go. We really need you to like this video. If you're on YouTube watching this, whether you're live or after the fact, please like the video. Same on Facebook.
Up,
guys, we need it. We need it. It's algorithm time. These are the little things. Look, when you watch it, hey, for Zach and I and Scott, that means the world to us. Just the fact that you're watching it, hey, I sleep well at night. But the algo bots, unfortunately, that's not enough. They need to see further engagement. They need to see that you watched it and you engaged on the video in one form or another, whether you liked it or commented. And live chat comments don't count, unfortunately, in the algorithm. So, long-winded way of saying, please, guys, make sure, just mind the P's and Q's. Those are small things that take fractions of a second for you to do that help us out in a huge way, as Zach mentioned earlier. But a mile-high salute and a special shout-out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight. Indeed, helping us keep the lights on, like the Ronk right there, like the Papa Bear, David McElrath, Sam Bam, Taylor Christensen, the Duchess, Michaela Parker going off tonight. I love you. George Fox on Facebook. We got Elias, a newer name on YouTube. Phil McLaughlin putting us on our toes with the third QB question. And the takeaway, in case you missed it, is yes, you can now keep the quarterback on the third or on the practice squad. Eric Flynn, what up, big dog? And play him on game day as your emergency guy. Ben Wallman, what up, dude? Ryan Jones, what up? Kirsten, keep banging those skins. You know what I'm saying, drummer. Dennis Woods, the GLP goes hard, this man does. Gary Palmer, great to see you, by the way, again, Gary. Love you guys. We'll be, Zach and I, we're back Thursday, but plenty of great content coming down the pike tomorrow. Building the Broncos. You've got some Broncos for breakfast Wednesday morning. You got some Mile High Insiders. Then we're back.
Have a great start to your week. We will see you Thursday night. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.